Doing?
Well, doing well. Oh my gosh, what a great film and so deeply layered for me because for me, it was about the monsters, right? That's a piece of it, but there's like a spirituality underbelly and a
Oh
huge
yeah.
layering of that. And also how each character's sins kind of like I don't know, lead them to the juke joint that night
Sure.
almost,
Yeah.
for sure. So for each of you, and I'll start with you first, Jamie, to answer, how has working on this film and stepping into these characters in particular, how has that changed or expanded or even opened up your personal relationship with spirituality?
Ooh, I love that we started with me on this
Yeah.
question. Because I don't mess with no vampires. No. What I'll say is, for me, I'm a person that's very connected to my faith, and there was something about the exploration of blues music, right, and how for a long time it's looked as this sinful genre, this other thing separate from gospel, right? And getting the opportunity to bridge in the different ways in which faith is explored or spirituality is explored and the connective tissue and all of that. And the complexity of it, right? Because also the end of this movie don't give you no answer.
It doesn't.
It don't tell you what you should or should not do or believe and not believe. And I think that's always just more poignant for an audience. It leaves you unsettled and it leaves you wrestling. And so yeah, it's more than just monsters. There's really some questions being asked.
Yeah. And what about for you, Miles?
Yeah, I'm also, big on my faith and, who I believe in God, and, so I think this definitely was an interesting take, like, on spirituality, and like she said, the blues music, because it is tied to, it's tied to, like, I feel like religious roots as far as, like, being in church and also having that faith and then just being able to go out and, I guess, represent that in different areas like the juke or in different places. So it's interesting how that plays out in the film.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, what about for you, Jeff?
Great answers, guys. To follow up from that, I guess the kind of vampiric element was not one really that I'd meddled with much before. Did a little digging. I was quite amazed to see that it has interfered with societies, the mythology of it for centuries, like medieval times. Obviously way before this story is set. So there is like a fixation within culture to sort of be wary of these outside elements that might be walking amongst us too. That was a great little arena to kind of set Remick in and for this story and things, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can't wait for audiences to see it. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with Nerdophiles. We really appreciate it. Hi. So, hi, I am KB with Nerdophiles. How are each of you?
Nerdophiles. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing well. What a great film. And it's so deeply layered for me. For me, it goes beyond the monsters and it goes into the spirituality.
Absolutely.
Of so many different things, hands down. How has working on this project and stepping into these characters in particular changed or expanded or really opened up your own personal relationship with spirituality?
I mean, clearly there's a spiritual element to the film, and I think that one of the things that Ryan wants to do is for you to open that conversation and question what's been told, what's been taught, and what you feel.
What's not been told, what's not been told.
There you go.
And the spirituality is part of a larger kind of presentation in this narrative, right? The music, the history, community, the components in community. I mean, they're all, for me anyhow, they're all just as present in the presentation of this story.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I left with so many questions because the film leaves you with no answers, which I appreciate because it gives you an opportunity to kind of really sit with how each individual story, to your point, is unified by community, right? Because they're all a community of people going through this same kind of collective trauma. but behind it, they're all asking themselves various questions in their lives at various points in their lives. So I really, really enjoyed kind of how the spirituality tied into that. And again, to your point, how the blues music and the history of music is also kind of the through line through it, for sure.
Well, and if you take it from the biblical perspective of the
Right.
devil being the angel of music, there was a lot of beautiful symbolism going on with the Remick character and the music itself and Sammy and his father and all of that. The church, yeah.
church.
But again, and piggybacking on that, Delta Slim. Unfortunately, it's not in the finished cut. But I had a scene where I was speaking with Preacher Boy Sammy and telling him that the music was every bit as blues music is every bit as spiritually rooted as traditional as the church that his dad represents. So there's a lot of back and forth that Ryan is presenting with this.
Yeah, and I loved every bit of it. But just thank you all for taking time to chat with Nerdophiles. I really can't wait for audiences to see it.